Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dudes and dudettes, the sexy and the not so sexy, big children and little. I'm novelist, author, poet Lamont Anthony Wright, aka Graffiti Blue. My last conversation with Troy Anthony Hall, kidhood, right? I got to give it some pretext. The year is, all right, this has got to be 88 going into 89. All right, I'm bouncing around. I left home at 17, you know what I mean? So I'm bouncing around, and I end up living with my cousin Wade, aka Wacky Johnson, and Dolphus Johnson, and Tyrone Johnson, all right? I'm living with my Aunt Thelma and my Uncle Shorty. I have a little cot in a basement, right? So Wade and I are a little close in age. Wade is older, then I'm next, then Dolphus is next, and then my little cousin Tyrone. So anyway, just to give us some pretext, okay? This is 1988 going into 89. You know, if you was in Queens, New York at the time, you was there. I can't begin to describe, but Troy, because I lived right across the street from him in my young adolescent, right? It would be nothing for me and Troy to chop it up because Troy just lived right across the street. I mean, literally, I look outside my window and there's Troy's crib, okay? So we would chop it up all the time. Troy, Anthony Hall, was always on some rap shit. This dude, he was either talking about rap, hip-hop culture, or he was rapping. I always kept at least 100 bars in the tuck. So he would let me hear his rhymes and I would let him hear mine. He would rap to me, I would rap to him in a friendly but not so friendly cipher because we were always trying to outdo each other. Of course, what are we, 14, 15, 16? Of course, that's what men do, or at least young men in training at least. Okay. Troy, for those of you who didn't know, was quick to give you a random phone call out of nowhere. He was just a communicator like that. He used to wear his beeper, his pager, on the brim of his baseball cap, on his socks. Kid shit. Kid fly nigga shit. Okay. Troy would be quick to give you a random phone call. So I'm in the basement, right? Southside Jamaica, Queens, living with my Aunt Thelma in them, and Troy would randomly call me. You know, we are having a friendly battle over the phone. I'm rapping to him, he's rapping to me. It's definitely competitive, but you know, that's the homie. My man Dolphus, my cousin Dolphus, has picked up the other line, probably in the kitchen. I'm in the basement. Probably the phone either in the kitchen or wherever else they had a phone. I'm sure my Aunt Thelma had a phone in her room, but I don't want to rat Dolphus out, and he's no longer here to protect himself. Anyway, I want to impress my cousin. I don't want to lose a battle, and Troy is nice, but I don't want to lose or at least not go for it. You know what I mean? With my cousin listening in, you don't want to lose a battle, or at least you don't want any witnesses. Me and Troy must have stayed on that phone for a couple of hours, rapping, talking about the street politics of the day, and then more rapping. Or what the hell was we gonna rap about next? Just thought you should know about what the last conversation was like because, you know, hip-hop would be interesting had he still been here. I would love to hear grown man Troy Anthony Hall. I would love to hear grown man Troy with all the shit he's been through. I could only imagine his lyrics, his lyrical content, and the stories he would tell. Just to have lived or to still be alive right now, you guys call your old head like that's a bad thing. I survived. Salute to the legacy of kidhood. Out.